Hello students, I am Tara Jayant, Associate Professor, Department of Zoology, Government PG College for Women, Panchkula. The topic that we are going to study today is Biodiversity and its Conservation, Part 2. This topic is for class BSc 3rd year, 5th semester. In this session of the video, we will study about the major causes of biodiversity loss, IUCN Red List threat categories, and methods of conservation of biodiversity. Threats to biodiversity. The loss of ecosystems and loss of different species of plants and animals present in these ecosystems due to any reason is known as loss of biodiversity. Extinction means the disappearance of species present on Earth. It's a natural and slow process. The species which existed on Earth thousands or millions of years back cannot be seen now. Due to human interference and unplanned anthropogenic activities, the population of a number of species has declined very rapidly, particularly in the last 100 years. The major causes of biodiversity loss are destruction of habitats, introduction of exotic species, indiscriminate hunting, overexploitation of natural resources, global climate change, and international trade in scarce animal products. Destruction of habitats. It is one of the most serious threat to biodiversity. It is happening due to various reasons. First is environmental pollution. For example, the release of harmful chemicals into oceanic and river water causes poisoning of water and deteriorates the quality of water. It proves very harmful for the life of marine species. Deforestation. It is excessive cutting of trees to create new space for human activities and the use of forest wood and products in various ways. Agricultural expansion. The increase in population has led to increase in the demand of food. For this, more and more cultivable land is required, and it is being done by cutting more and more trees. Overgrazing. It means excessive eating of plants and grasses by the animals. It deteriorates the quality of land in that area and leads to permanent loss of vegetation cover. The given diagram shows the negative impact of overgrazing on a piece of land. The next is increasing urbanization. Movement of more and more people towards cities leads to increase in residential areas, offices, shopping complexes and industries. And the new space for all these activities is created by cutting of forests. Next is development works like making of dams, roads, railway lines, industries, mines, etc. leads to fragmentation of the habitats. This causes an interference with the natural activities of wild animals and their movement gets restricted. All these leads to the decrease in their population. Second is introduction of exotic species. The species which accidentally get introduced into an area to which they don't belong are known as exotic species. For example, American cockroach or Periplaneta americana got introduced in India along with some food articles which were imported from America. And now its population has increased so much that it is threatening the existence of the native species of cockroach, that is Blatta orientalis or oriental cockroach. Third point is indiscriminate hunting. Excessive killing of animals to obtain important products like hides, skin, fur, feather, horns, ivory, etc. for trade to earn money, and also the use of animals in scientific experiments and research, and their use as museum specimens in educational institutions has led to a decrease in the population of various plants and animals. For example, extinction of dodo bird from Mauritius. This bird was extensively killed for its beautiful feathers. Same way, the extinction of cheetah, which was known to be the fastest mammal of India. Next point is overexploitation of natural resources. Unlimited extraction like mining work and other human activities and development work leads to overexploitation of natural resources. For example, overfishing and mechanical catching of animals for various purposes. All these activities lead to decline in the population of different species. Fifth point is global climate change. Climate change shifts the distribution of ecosystems and plant vegetation zones to which the microorganisms may not be able to adjust. For example, global warming or an increase of a temperature up to 1.5 degrees centigrade may cause the shift in the ecosystem. Like alpine species migrate upwards on the mountain slopes due to warming. Same way, the marine species get shifted to higher altitudes. And increase in the temperature of water leads to 70 to 90% decline in the coral reefs. So, this diagram shows how the climate change causes the shift in the ecosystems, and due to this, the animals or plants are unable to adjust to the new ecosystem. This gradually leads to decrease in their population. Sixth point is international trade in scarce animal products. Extensive killing of animals for products like medicines, perfumes, cosmetics, decoration, etc. and their trading to earn money is one of the important cause of biodiversity loss. There are some important animals which are killed for this purpose. For example, destruction of musk deer and great one-horned rhinoceros. IUCN Red List Threat Categories. On the basis of degree of threat, 8 red list categories have been identified by the IUCN, that is International Union of Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. These categories are extinct, extinct in the wild, critically endangered, endangered, vulnerable, low risk, data deficient, and non-evaluated. Let us discuss some important categories. First is extinct species. These are the species which were present on Earth previously, but now they no longer exist anywhere on the Earth. इन प्लांट्स और एनिमल्स का कोई भी लिविंग मेंबर अब अर्थ पर प्रेजेंट नहीं है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल The extinct species of animals are dinosaur, dodo, mammoth, and the extinct species of plants are Cooksonia, Rhynia, and Lepidodendron. Critically endangered species. A critically endangered species is that which is likely to become extinct in the immediate future. ये वो species हैं जिनकी population ऑलरेडी 80% तक डिक्रीज हो चुकी है या उनकी नेक्स्ट 3 जनरेशन्स में ये 80% से ज़्यादा डिक्रीज हो जाएगी. दैट्स वाई they are facing an extremely high risk of their extinction in the wild. Example of such species are Great Indian Bustard, the Ganges shark, Himalayan brown bear, and Peacock tarantula, which is a species of spider. Endangered species. These are the species which are at risk of becoming extinct because it is either less in number or threatened by changing environmental or predation parameters. ये वो species हैं जिनकी population last 10 years के time span में 50% से 70% के बीच में decline हो चुकी है, and they are also facing an extremely high risk of their extinction in the near future. Example of such species are red panda and Kashmir stag. Vulnerable species. These are the species whose populations are still abundant but their home range has been adversely affected. The factors which are responsible for causing disturbance in the habitats of these species are mainly the result of human activities, and these species may come under the category of endangered species if these factors are continued. For example, Nilgiri marten and Barasingha. Next category is rare species. The threatened species, which are very less in number and are usually confined in a specific area or very thinly distributed over a wide geographic area, are known as rare species. ये वो species हैं जिनकी populations बहुत small हैं और ये अर्थ के किसी पर्टिकुलर एरिया पर ही एग्जिस्ट करते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल स्नो लॉरिस, इंडियन डेजर्ट कैट एंड वाइल्ड याक. Next topic is conservation of biodiversity. Biodiversity conservation means preservation and management of all the ecosystems and natural habitats and the organisms present in them so that the ecosystems function properly and ecological balance is maintained. Objectives of biodiversity conservation are to preserve all the biological forms present on the earth. Second, to maintain the essential biological processes and life support system. It means to maintain proper ecological balance between the biotic and abiotic factors of the ecosystem. Third objective is to ensure sustainable development. It means the use of resources by the present generation in such a way that they may be conserved for the next generation also. Methods to conserve biodiversity. There are two main types of conservation methods. First is in situ conservation. Second is ex situ conservation. In situ conservation. The conservation of species in their natural habitat or natural ecosystem is known as in situ conservation. In this method, the natural surroundings or ecosystem is protected and maintained so that all the constituent species, whether they are known or unknown, are conserved and benefited. इस मेथड में उन स्पीशीज को भी कंजर्व कर सकते हैं जिनको अभी तक डिस्कवर नहीं किया गया है, एंड द फैक्टर्स विच आर डेट्रीमेंटल और हार्मफुल फॉर द एग्जिस्टेंस ऑफ स्पीशीज आर कंट्रोल्ड बाय सुटेबल मेथड. Advantages of in situ conservation. First, it is a cheap and convenient way of conserving biological diversity, since in this method the organisms are given protection in their natural habitats. Second, it offers a way to preserve a large number of organisms simultaneously, known or unknown to us. इस मेथड से जो ऑलरेडी नोन स्पीशीज हैं और जो अनडिस्कवर्ड स्पीशीज हैं उन दोनों को ही प्रोटेक्शन प्रोवाइड की जा सकती है. थर्ड, द एग्जिस्टेंस इन नेचुरल इकोसिस्टम्स प्रोवाइड्स अपॉर्चुनिटी टू द लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स टू एडजस्ट बेटर टू द डिफर्ड एनवायरमेंटल कंडीशंस. सिंस द ऑर्गेनिजम्स आर प्रेजेंट इन देयर नेचुरल हैबिटेट, सो they are able to adjust to the changing environmental conditions in a better way. Disadvantage of in situ conservation. In situ conservation के लिए एक बड़े जोग्राफिक एरिया की रिक्वायरमेंट होती है, क्योंकि इकोसिस्टम्स अर्थ पर एक लार्ज स्पेस को या एरिया को ऑक्यूपाई करते हैं, एंड दिस इज अ बिग प्रॉब्लम नाउअडेज बिकॉज ऑफ growing demand for space due to increasing human population. In situ conservation strategies. The protection and management of biodiversity through in situ conservation involves certain specific areas known as protected areas. These are national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, and biosphere reserves. Let us discuss them one by one. First is National Park. These are the small reserves or areas which are meant for the protection of both wild flora and fauna in their natural habitats. These are maintained and managed by the government. Their boundaries are well demarcated from the nearby areas, and no entry for common people is allowed inside it. Any kind of human activities like hunting, grazing, forestry, cultivation, and habitat manipulation are strictly prohibited in these areas. Currently, there are about 103 national parks in India. For example, Jim Corbett National Park in Nainital, Uttarakhand is the first national park in India, and it is mainly known for the conservation of tiger. Second is Kaziranga National Park, Jorhat, Assam, which is known for conservation of Great Indian One-Horned Rhinoceros. Second is Wildlife Sanctuaries. These are the areas where only wild animals are given protection. The human activities like harvesting of timber, collection of forest products, cultivation of land, etc. are permitted in this region, but only up to a limited extent, so that no harm is caused to the animals or their natural activities. Tourism and recreation are also permitted in this region, but only up to a limited extent. Currently, there are about 544 wildlife sanctuaries in India. For example, Panchmadi Wildlife Sanctuary in Madhya Pradesh and Sukhna Lake Wildlife Sanctuary in Chandigarh. Third is Biosphere Reserves. These are the areas of terrestrial and coastal or marine ecosystems or its amalgamation. These are very large areas and may cover many ecosystems. The establishment of biosphere reserves was started under MAB, that is Man and the Biosphere Program of UNESCO. As of January 2021, there are about 714 biosphere reserves across 129 countries in the world, which also include 21 transboundary sites. The Government of India has established 18 biosphere reserves in our country. Out of this, the largest biosphere reserve is Gulf of Kutch in Gujarat, and smallest biosphere reserve is Dibru-Saikhowa in Assam. Other examples of biosphere reserves in India are Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve in Uttarakhand and Sundarbans in West Bengal. Biosphere reserves are multi-purpose protected areas. It means these are meant for conservation as well as other human activities which cause no harm to the ecosystem. Their boundaries are circumscribed by legislation. The main purpose of establishing a biosphere reserve is to preserve genetic diversity of organisms which are present in wild. In a biosphere reserve, the multiple use of land is permitted by dividing it into certain zones. Each zone of biosphere reserve is meant for a specific activity. Structure of biosphere reserve. A biosphere reserve has mainly got three regions or zones. These are core area, buffer zone, and transition zone. First is core area. Core area is the innermost zone of the biosphere reserve. It is most protected area since it may contain certain endemic species of plants and animals. The main function of core area or core zone is to conserve the wild relatives of important species. It represents important genetic reservoirs having exceptional साइंटिफिक वैल्यू. कोर जोन में कुछ ऐसे एंडेमिक प्लांट्स और एनिमल्स प्रेजेंट होते हैं विच आर जेनेटिक रिजर्वायर, और इस जेनेटिक रिजर्वायर को साइंटिफिक रिसर्च और एक्सपेरिमेंट्स के लिए यूज किया जाता है. दैट्स वाई अ कोर जोन इज अ प्रोटेक्टेड रीजन अंडर द वाइल्ड लाइफ प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट 1972 and it is kept free from any kind of human activities. No human activity in any form is allowed in the core zone. Second zone is buffer zone. It is present outside the core area, and in this the human activities are managed in such a way that no harm or disturbance is caused to the endemic species present in the core zone. The activities include restoration, limited tourism, fishing, grazing, etc. Research and educational activities are also permitted in the buffer zone. The third zone is known as transition zone. It is the outermost part of a biosphere reserve. It is also known as the zone of cooperation, where human activities and conservation are done in harmony with each other. This zone may have human settlements and croplands. Recreational activities and other economic uses of forest are permitted in transition zone. Now we come to ex situ conservation. This method of conservation mainly involves maintenance and breeding of endangered plants and animals outside their natural habitat, that is, under partially or wholly controlled conditions in some specific areas like zoo, gardens, nurseries, etc. Ex situ conservation strategies. Some important ways by which ex situ conservation of organisms can be done are botanical gardens, zoological gardens or zoo, seed bank, gene bank, tissue culture, and cryopreservation. Botanical gardens. These are the places where documented collections of living plants are kept. The purpose of growing plants in a botanical garden is scientific research, conservation, display, and education. Botanical gardens का मेन पर्पस प्लांट्स के रेयर और थ्रेटेंड स्पीशीज को कंजर्वेशन प्रोवाइड करना है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, नेशनल कैक्टस एंड सक्यूलेंट बोटेनिकल गार्डन एंड रिसर्च सेंटर एट पंचकुला, हरियाणा. नेक्स्ट इज zoological gardens or zoo. It's a place where wild animals are maintained in captivity. Here, the breeding of animals is also done if required. The animals are displayed to the public for amusement and for getting knowledge about wildlife. For example, Alipore Zoological Garden in Kolkata is India's oldest zoological garden. Seed bank. These are the cold storages where seeds are kept under low temperature of about -20 degrees Celsius and controlled humidity for storage, and this is the easiest way to store the germplasm of plants. The seeds preserved here remain viable for a very long time, and they can be used by the scientist in future for crop improvement, like for creating high-yielding varieties, disease-resistant and drought-resistant varieties of crop plants. For example, Indian Seed Vault in Ladakh. It's a high-altitude seed bank. It was built in 2010 jointly by the Defense Institute of High Altitude Research and the National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources. Gene Bank. Gene bank is an important method of preserving the genetic variability of species. These are also cold storages where germplasm is kept under controlled conditions of temperature and humidity for storage. It's an important method of preserving sperms and ova of animals in zoological freezers from where they can be used in future when required. For example, the International Crops Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics in Hyderabad is world's first gene bank that is powered entirely by solar energy. Tissue culture. It's a technique of growing the tissues or cells isolated from the parent organism in artificial medium separately. The excised roots and shoots are kept for long term under aseptic conditions. This technique is very popular in propagation of plants as it's a virus and disease-free method of multiplication. For example, Tissue Culture Lab in HAU Hisar, Haryana. It is mainly meant for propagation of sugarcane, citrus and banana. Next technique is cryopreservation. In some gene banks, the organelles, cells, tissues, extracellular matrix, organs, or any other biotic parts of organisms are preserved by cryopreservation. It's a technique in which the preservation is done by cooling to a very low temperature, up to -196 degrees Celsius in liquid nitrogen. At such a low temperature, the metabolic activities of the organisms are suspended and thus they can be used later for research purposes. For example, preservation of ova and sperms by this technique. This is all about this topic. I hope all the students are able to understand it. Welcome to the second session of this video. In this, we are going to discuss some important questions that can be asked in the university exam from this topic. First category of questions is very short answer questions. You have to answer these questions in 15 to 20 words. Question number 1. Name the program under which the Biosphere Reserve Network was launched. Number 2. Name 2 extinct animal species. Number 3. What is in situ conservation? Number 4. Define vulnerable species. Question number 5. What is a national park? Number 6. What are exotic species? Number 7. Name 2 wildlife sanctuaries present in India. And question number 8 is write any 2 ex situ conservation strategies. Second category of questions is short answer questions. You have to answer these questions in a paragraph of 40 to 50 words, and you can also draw the diagram if it is required. Question number 1. Write a note on Biosphere Reserve. Number 2. What are critically endangered species? Give one example. Question number 3. Write the causes of destruction of habitats. Number 4. What are the advantages of in situ conservation? Number 5. Explain the structure of a biosphere reserve. The third type of questions are long answer questions. You have to answer these questions in detail. Question number 1. Explain the main causes of biodiversity loss. Question number 2. Give an account of strategies of in situ conservation. Question number 3. Write about important IUCN Red List threat categories. And number 4. Describe the ex situ conservation strategies. I hope these questions are going to help you in preparation of your university exams. Thank you.